I've recently joined a men's book group here in town to read Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, the memoir of the Austrian psychiatrist and thinker who survived 3 years in Nazi concentration camps. I found my way into this group through a neighbor and friend who's been willing to step into some of those deeper conversations with me, the kind that go beyond small talk that I've written about previously. And one honest exchange led to another, and a door opened into this circle of men reading and reflecting together. And it's felt serendipitous, but also fitting. I cast my net or my line. I named my longing for deeper conversations with anyone, but particularly with men. And as the Quakers say, way opened. I first read this book 25 years ago in grad school and even wrote a paper on it. But reading it now feels much different. It feels more alive, more urgent, because it raises the same questions that's been running underneath everything I've written since that first post, why I'm writing. What is a human life for? And even more, what is my life for? Or in Frankl's language, how do we live with meaning when life doesn't give us easy answers? Frankl's central insight, I think, is deceptively simple. We are not merely subjects of our conditions. Even when everything is stripped away, our plans, our freedoms, our futures, we remain free in the most essential place. The freedom to choose our attitude, our response, and our stance towards what's happening. He had written these theories before he even entered the camps, but it was tested and strengthened inside the darkest human made conditions imaginable, the Nazi concentration camp. And he noticed something about himself and about others, that two people facing the same external fate could inhabit completely different inner worlds. One could collapse into despair, while another discovers a quiet kind of dignity, agency, and purpose. And this difference wasn't circumstance, it was meaning. Frankl says meaning may be sourced or discovered by us in three primary ways. That is through work, creative work, expression, through love, loving and being loved, and even through suffering. Not by glorifying it, but by choosing the stance that transforms it. But his insight that stays with me most is this: meaning is always specific, personal, and unique to each one of us. No one can hand it to us and say, oh, here it is. Here's the meaning of your life. No ideology, no religion, no parent, and certainly no political leader can dictate our meaning and still call it freedom. Each of us has a task that is ours alone, drawn from our conscience, our longings, our experiences, even our wounds, and our hope. And what strikes me reading Frankl now is how willing he was to follow his own questions, his own ideas, his own conscience, his own inner authority. He didn't outsource his meaning, not to the guards in the camps, and not to the dominant schools of psychology that he was a part of before the war. He listened inwardly and built something uniquely his own. He acknowledged that this, he called it the inner hold, doesn't come easily. It takes effort, almost a ritual kind of reminding and remembering for ourselves of our own dignity and meaning. And that brings me to the present moment. My partner and I have been watching Ken Burns' series on the American Revolution. And in interviews, I've heard Burns say something that feels deeply aligned with Frankl. The American people were no longer subjects. They were citizens. And Frankl, in his own way, I think, is saying the same thing about the human spirit, our human spirit. We are not pawns for the arbitrary whims of any political leader. We are not the subjects alone of our conditions or the stories others try to impose on us. We are citizens of our own inner freedom, citizens of conscience and responsibility, citizens with the dignity and the burden of choosing our attitude, our actions, and the meaning we bring to the world. So, as I sit with these men week after week now, I'm realizing that this isn't just a book club. It's a space where each of us can ask, what is life still asking of me? What is my unique task? Where am I being called to respond with courage in my work, my love, or even in my suffering? And I found myself saying out loud to this group this week, ultimately, only we can know if we are being able to these questions, responsible. And one powerful sign, I think, is simply how alive we feel in any given moment of our lives. And so let me end with this. How alive do you feel in your own life, on your own journey, your own search for meaning? And what more is life asking you to manifest in your own specific and unique way? Thanks so much for watching. And if you care to share responses to these, small questions in the chat, please do. And until next time, thank you.